Hello and welcome to an update of the Perionyx, the red wigglers, and the European Nightcrawlers. So I'm going to do a quick peek at the blue worms and see how these guys are getting along. If you recall last week, I said that I would not be adding bedding. Look at this guy. That's a blue worm, in case you guys are wondering. You see? Moves really fast, like an inchworm. And you can see that his clitellum is flush with his body. If you see a bulging clitellum on a worm, that is not a blue worm. Doesn't sit still. And his clitellum is very close to the head. The head is a darker color. And they're pretty uniform throughout. They're thin. Sorry to bother you, sweetie. There you go. So, I'm going to turn the material over a little bit. And we've been feeding in this area right here, so it's a lot more moisture than on the other side. But honestly, it's pretty moist throughout. And I've been trying to get used to the idea of running my bins a little bit wetter than normal, simply because the worms reproduce better. I've noticed when the material is not as flaky as I tend to keep my bins. But then all I have to do really is air it out a little bit before I'm ready to sift it. And it all works out well. So this is where the majority of them are, right? Just look at these. Yeah. Where the food is, that is where they are. Wormies, wormies, wormies. Beautiful. Look at how they move. Beautiful. So I'm going to give them just a little something. I guess we're going to move into this area right here. And as we get closer to the harvesting, I will pop the lid open and cover it with a shade cloth and let the material dry out. I'm going to keep one side. That is one disgusting pair. It's not even recognizable. I'm going to feed one side and keep that side moist while I come and fluff up the other material in the bin. I'm sure you guys have seen me do that before many times when I harvest, so you know what I do. But right now these guys are fed, and we can go over to the red wiggler bin. So here's the red wiggler bin, and they did an awesome job, really. I mean, look at all of this. There's hardly any bedding left here at all. I think they did even better of a job than the blue worms. Material feels a little bit flakier in here than it does in the Perionyx bin that we just saw. Oh, I think I'm hitting, that's where we fed, okay. I knew I was feeling something there. But yeah, these guys have worked over the material beautifully, I have to say. I might even, yeah, I'll do it next week. I'll feed them today, and then I will prepare the bedding and everything for next week to start the horizontal migration. But here they are, where the food is, right? They're loving it. They're absolutely loving it. Look at all that wormage. Right? Tons of babies, guys. Tons and tons of babies. Got some more in here. Yeah. They're doing a great job. So I'm going to feed them in the dryer area right here, just like I did with the Perionyx. And, oops, hitchhiker. And then next week, we'll start doing our migration. Because these guys have destroyed the bedding. There's nothing left here. And obviously, I don't want to give them any more. So we'll mark the area where we fed. And I'll just put these larger pieces of just the corn husk that's left and any food that's remaining. I'll put them all into the same side as that new feeding area. So they're not going to have food all over the place, just in one area. Okay, these guys are also done. Let us go over to the, oh, before I do that, since I showed you, I periodically do that, since I did show you a good representation of the blue worm, let me try and find a good representation of a red wiggler. Because sometimes, especially when they're young, it's very hard to tell them apart. But when they get their clitellums, then it's actually quite easy. Yeah, if I can find one that actually has a bulging clitellum. You guys are not cooperating with me now that I decided to, oops. Let's see. First of all, you can see how he's resting in my hand. He's hardly moving. They're slow that way. And they're thick throughout. And his clitellum is further away from his head. And if I can just, yeah, it doesn't look like it's bulging too much, so it's much harder to tell. But you can see he's got a more yellowish tail, and he moves very, very slowly. So definitely when you have these guys side by side, you know exactly what you have. Okay, let me go to the Euros now. And here they are. So we have the European Nightcrawlers in here, and you can see they've got plenty of bedding, so they don't need any more. But, oh, I fed here in this area, so let me just fluff up the material. Now these guys, see what I'm saying about a bulging clitellum? This is what I'm talking about right here. They're very they closely resemble red worms. I mean, they're bigger, fully mature, large-sized European nightcrawler is a lot larger than a red wiggler. But when they're smaller, it's hard to tell them apart, actually. They're also thick, throughout, and they have that reddish color, and they have the bulging clitellum. So when they're little, it's not always easy to tell them apart from a mature red wiggler. So I'm just turning again the bedding over, and I know these guys are all in here because that's where we fed. Yeah. Here they are. Squishy, squishy worms. Yeah, you can see they're got some nice size on them. And they've got actually plenty of food. For some reason, they're slower than my blue worms and the red wigglers. So I am not going to feed these guys. I'm just going to cover this all up. I did fluff the bedding, so that's taken care of. But I want to make sure that I don't oversaturate the bin. There's no reason for that. They've got plenty of food, plenty of bedding. They have what they need. So that's our update. And I look forward to doing, starting to do a harvest next week. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.